Good evening, everyone. My name is Hema, and today's my topic is about food chain. And already we have learned about food chain in our school days and the college days. So today I'll be briefly explaining about what is food chain, what does the food chain consist of, and why this food chain is very important. Okay. So first, let us see what is a food chain. So all the living organisms need food for respiration, growth, and for energy, reproduction, right? So hence it depends upon each other for the food. So here you can see they are interdependent on each other, right? So let us take an example. Whereas insect depends upon the plants or the greeneries for their food, and frog is depending upon the insect, and the snake is depending upon the frog. So they are interlinked with each other. And let us see what is there in the food chain. In this food chain, there is producers, consumers, and decomposers. And let us see what is producers. Producers are nothing but the plants or the first level of the food chain, where they prepare their own food. It is also known as the autotrophs. They prepare their own food utilizing the sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide and minerals from the soil. And consumers are nothing but which depends upon the producers. That is, producers, they prepare their own food, whereas consumers, we are the consumers, where we are not able to prepare our own food. We depend on others, right? And in consumers, there are different types. It is also known as heterotrophs. Herbivores. In consumers, there are different types like herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Herbivores, which eat only the plants, grass, okay, like goat, sheep, cow, and carnivores, which eat the meat, like lion, tiger, cheetah. Omnivores are human beings, which eat both the plants and animals. And decomposers depend upon the consumers. These decomposers is a living thing where they break down the material from dead plants and animals. So this is known as rotting or decaying, we call that. Okay, and these decomposers are present in the soil, which also helps to the plants for their growth, which provides the nutrient to the soil. And this is a kind of cycle where producers depend upon the decomposers, and consumer depend upon the producers. Okay, here you can see the chain, whereas we have a producer and consumers and decomposers. In consumers, once again, we have different types. That is primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer, and the final consumers. Okay, so here it has been arranged in the form of a pyramid. These producers, consumers, decomposers are arranged in the form of a pyramid, which is known as a trophic level. Okay? So the first level is the producers, which prepare their own food, plants, and the consumers. In consumers, already we learned that there are different types, right? Primary consumers, consumer, tertiary, and the quaternary consumers. And the last one will be the decomposers. They are interlinked with each other. And in food chain, there are different types. That is a grazing food chain and detritus food chain. This grazing food chain, let us take an example like a rabbit, where rabbit depends upon the grass or the greeneries, right? This is a living thing, grass, right? Whereas in detritus food chain, worms depend upon the soil, where soil is a non-living thing, whereas they depend upon the non-living things. So this is known as a detritus food chain. So we can see food chain in all the areas, like in ponds, lakes, deserts, terrestrial areas, right? So here you can see some of the examples like planktons, phytoplanktons, and zooplanktons, or and small fishes and fishes. They depend upon each other for their survival. And in desert, we can see grass, where rat is depending upon the grass and snake is depending upon the rat. They interdependent on each other. So why this food chain is important? For the energy, right? So the energy is starts from the sun, where the rays has been utilized by the plants, and they prepare their own food, and this food is being provided to the other organisms, that is to the heterotrophs, which cannot prepare their own food. So once the energy is being transformed from one level to another level, this is starts from the sunlight and then ends with the decomposers. They depend upon each other for their energy level. And this is they depend upon the non-living things. Living things and non-living things depend on each other. This is to balance the ecosystem. Here you can see the example of energy flow. So solar energy, that is sun, is being utilized by the green plants, and green plants is being eaten by the herbivores. Herbivores is being eaten by the carnivores, and carnivores is eaten by the top carnivores. Here, the flow of energy, we can see the flow of energy, right? And in next slide, we can see why the food chain is very important. The food chain is very important, hence for their nourishment, for to be alive, and for the reproduction. They are interlinked with each other, and also for to balance the ecosystem in our earth. Okay, and the main intention of this food chain is to transfer of energy from one level to another level, and for their survival. So, the summary of this seminar content is about what we have learned is food chain. What is food chain? And this food chain consists of producers, consumers, decomposers. In consumers, once again, we have primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers, and they are interlinked with each other. Like producers are being eaten by the consumers, consumers has been eaten by the decomposers, and this is a cycle which balances our ecosystem. So that's all. Thank you, sir.